Hello everyone, my name's Callum, and today I'm going to walk you through the new multi-cluster support we've added to the Kubernetes MCP server. And to do that, I'm going to be using a tool here called the MCP inspector, which comes from the MCP community and lets us see what's going on an MCP server. So to start, let's connect to the Kubernetes MCP server that I'm running. And let's talk a little bit about what's going on in this UI. On the bottom, we have the history and the server notifications. The history is just a set of all of the different tool calls and tool responses, or just messages really going back and forth in the protocol. And the server notification is a set of all the notifications the server sends to the client. More on those in a minute. So let's look at our tools. If we list the tools, first of all, we'll see a tool list goes through the history. And then if we look at the actual tools we got, we'll see all of the tools we'd expect on the Kubernetes MCP server, such as a configuration view to get the current kubeconfig, various Helm tools, pod tools, an event list tool, and if we run any of these tools, we can see they run on our current cluster and we get some results. But you might be noticing something. There's nothing on these tools. If we look at them, none of these tools seem to have any parameters that let us specify which cluster we want to run that on. So how do we get that? And why is it not there if I said that we have multi-cluster support now? Well, crucially, we don't want to pollute the tool definitions. We don't want to confuse LLMs that there is a context parameter or a cluster parameter when there is no values for them to set. And so our server is designed to dynamically update the tools depending on how many server clusters it has access to. So currently I have a single kind cluster running, which means it's only going to have tools that can connect to a single cluster. If I now run a script in the background that's going to start creating more kind clusters, we're going to see these tools change. And these new tools will actually let us select the context from the kubeconfig that we want to run them on, which lets us switch the cluster we're connected to for these tool calls. So you see, the first cluster started and we got this list change notification, which is telling us from the server, hey, I've got a new tool. List the new tools so you can see them. So if we list these tools, we'll see there's now a context parameter in most of the tools, apart from the configuration view, since it doesn't make sense there. And if we look in the raw response here, because it's not shown in the inspector UI yet, properties, context, it's an enum, and this enum includes all of the clusters. And so as we go and list the tools again and get the new tool list response, we'll see over time this enum is going to be populated with more and more items, showing us all of the clusters we have available. So again, if we do that one more time, we'll see we now have 5 whole clusters in the enum. And that is a limit we've set. We've decided, hey, when we go beyond 5 clusters or 5 contexts, let's switch from embedding these in the enum to having a tool that actually lists the clusters. So if I were to clear the tools and list it one more time, we now have a contexts list tool. And this will actually return all the contexts. And if I go in and look at the raw definition of any of these tools now, for example, events list like we've been looking at, and go to the properties, the context, there's no enum anymore. But if I run the context list tool, I actually can see all the contexts again. So why do we do this? Well, at a certain point, having a huge enum embedded in every tool just pollutes the tool definitions and makes it hard for the LLM to work with it. We aren't sure what that point is yet, but through evals, we'll be able to test and figure out where we want this configurable limit and this configurable cutoff to go to. But what we have now is support to dynamically evolve our tool definitions and our tools to support any number of clusters from 1 up to hundreds or thousands of them. Thank you.